Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about liberal arts colleges, specifically why you should study at a liberal arts college and what you can expect from a liberal arts education. If you're new to my channel, I am currently a sophomore at Vassar College, which is a small liberal arts college in Poughkeepsie. As always, this video will be time-stamped, so be sure to check out the timestamps below if you want to hear something specifically, but if not, I encourage you to watch the whole video because I'm going to go in depth with each of the factors that I explain and hopefully shed some light on whether you would benefit from attending a liberal arts college or not. I'm not trying to advocate for one or the other. It ultimately just depends on your personality, what you want to study, and what you hope to get out of the college experience. Although I will say that I tend to be more in favor of a liberal arts education for an undergraduate degree specifically, but I will get into that a little bit later in the video. So one of the benefits of a liberal arts college is its small community feel. Whether this is a good thing or a bad thing ultimately depends on your personality. Typically, there are usually about 2,500 students, maybe 3,000. So that kind of contributes to an environment where you will recognize quite a few of the people that you pass on your way to classes, and you get to know quite a significant amount of people because you're exposed to the same kind of people in your classes. It also means that there's maybe less privacy than you would hope for. But that just comes with the community vibe. Personally, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a huge community feel at Vassar, but it's probably more than if I went to UConn or Penn State, where there's just so many diverse people and such a large population that you might get lost in the crowd. Another benefit is that liberal arts colleges tend to be more undergraduate focused. Again, this is either a positive or a negative based on what specifically you want out of the school, but in my opinion, I think that it is a positive because there are less graduate students to compete with for research opportunities. There are no TAs, and all the faculty are here for undergraduate teaching. What you see in a lot of universities is that professors are more focused on research rather than the teaching aspect, and so liberal arts colleges will tend to have professors who are more engaged. They still obviously care about their research, but liberal arts teachers tend to be a little bit more focused on the teaching aspect. It also means that research equipment and research opportunities might vary. So because there's less funding at these schools, since there are no graduate programs, some of the research equipment might be a little bit not as up to date as some of the universities, or there might just not be enough funding for specific programs. But I still think that there is pretty good opportunities at liberal arts colleges. I myself am paired to do a research opportunity next semester, so I can't speak too much on the specific equipment. Maybe universities will have more up-to-date fluorescent spectrometer stuff, I don't know. But we do have some really cool equipment as well. I have seen the earth science labs, and we do have some cool X-ray forensic type things. If you come to a liberal arts college, you will definitely have research opportunity, and you can gain valuable experience from the research that you do here. It just might be a little bit more high-tech at a university. Excluding Vassar, a lot of liberal arts colleges will have a diverse core curriculum, and so you will be forced to take things in the social sciences and the humanities and math, science, all of those things. So if you're not 100% sure what you want to do, the core curriculum can help to guide you and give you exposure to different subject areas. And it allows you to explore while also fulfilling your requirements. If you don't know, Vassar does not have a core curriculum, and so that's kind of the opposite side of the spectrum, where you are free to basically take anything you want, which also has its pluses because you get to actually explore different things that you want to explore without having to be tied down to specific courses that you have to take. So I highly recommend in your college search process to look at the core curriculum and see if it is something that's either way too many requirements that you might not be able to explore, or maybe too little guidance and you want flexibility to explore, but you also want more hands-on guidance as well. Like Vassar does not have a lot of guidance, so it's a little bit hard to know exactly what you want to do. But at the same time, you do get to explore whatever it is you want to explore, and that is how I kind of was introduced to geography. Typically, liberal arts colleges will have a greater emphasis on like a holistic approach to education. And I really like that because it allows you to tackle problems and look at solutions from like multiple different lenses and perspectives. And I think that it really just helps in the job market because people who see, like employers see that you're from a liberal arts college and they understand that you're a very like well-rounded, diverse individual. And I think there's something also to just be said for someone who goes to a liberal arts school because you are more worldly and you do have a lot of like different ways of looking at things than someone who went to just like a tech school. The education is also more focused on like writing and critical thinking skills. And again, this kind of ties into just looking at things with a different perspective, but liberal arts colleges tend to focus on overall critical thinking skills and how the specific subject material that you're learning, whether it's in math or English or science, how you can think about that subject matter from multiple different lenses. Classes in liberal arts colleges also tend to be a lot smaller. Vassar has like an 8-to-1, I think, student-faculty ratio, and you do see like smaller class sizes in the Ivies. Like Dartmouth has like 7-to-1, I think, and Brown might have 6-to-1. Although Dartmouth, I think, is a college. But despite like the Ivies, a lot of universities tend to have very large lecture halls, and even the Ivies will have large lecture halls as well. Especially for like those intro classes. At liberal arts colleges, you are going to have a lot smaller class sizes, and so you're really going to get to know your professors, and the professors are going to get to know you. It builds a little bit more of a community feel in the classroom. It makes you feel a little bit more comfortable and less like a number, where you're just kind of getting lost in a lecture hall. When I was touring colleges, I shadowed students at Villanova, and then I shadowed students at a local university called Hofstra University. I remember like the first year writing seminar or something like that in Hofstra was like a very large lecture hall, and I felt very lost there. And then they like broke out into discussion groups, so at least you got to like know your classmates there. And so universities might have something like that, like discussion groups. And then at Villanova, the classes were just generally smaller, and so that made me feel a little bit more comfortable as well. So it really just depends on the structure of your school. Like Williams College will have maybe larger class sizes, but then they also go into like that tutorial system, which if you're not familiar with that tutorial system, I think you're paired with a mentor and like a few other students, and you produce like written work for your tutor, and they give you like direct feedback on your work, and so it allows you a smaller environment to engage with the material. So if you're someone who thrives in like a small classroom environment, then I highly recommend liberal arts colleges. Universities might have smaller classes down the line, but at first you might get lost in those like big lecture halls, and I feel like it's really important as like a freshman and a sophomore to feel included in the discussions, and like it's those first years that kind of set you up for the rest of your college experience. And if you feel lost freshman year, it's kind of hard to feel like you belong to the community, and so just being in that small classroom environment is, I think, really important to feeling like you're part of the school community overall. Another thing to consider about classes is that they're more discussion based, so if you're interested in smaller class sizes that are more discussion based and again focused on critical thinking, then I do recommend liberal arts colleges, because again it's going to be really hard to have a discussion and to make yourself known in a large lecture hall. And I will say that discussion sections are very interesting. I personally don't really like them because I am more of an introvert and I don't really like participating. But hearing everyone's opinion is really interesting, and I didn't realize you come from high school and nobody really raises their hand, nobody really cares much about the material, but in college you have peers who are really thinking critically, and it's really an interesting opportunity to learn from them and see how other people are thinking about the material. And so I think that's something that's really beneficial in your education, is getting exposed to different viewpoints and seeing how other people interpret things, and just learning from your peers is really important, and I think it's going to be harder to do that in a larger environment. So yeah, just make sure that if you are interested in a larger university, that maybe they have like discussion sections in their classes. I would say that a downside to liberal arts colleges is that they don't have as many specialized majors as universities. Some universities might have things like animal husbandry and biomedical sciences or agricultural engineering, like things like that. But at Vassar and other liberal arts colleges, they tend to have majors that are more just along the lines of like biology, chemistry, statistics, economics, like the very basics, and they don't really go into like more specialized things, and they don't have courses that are more specialized either. There's some really cool courses, but again, they're more focused on like your critical thinking skills overall. Like a class I really wanted to take in my major was fisheries management and fisheries biology, but Vassar doesn't offer that because it is more specialized. Instead, you're going to get classes like mineralogy and conservation biology, which is still a really cool class. But you're going to get those like more broad classes rather than like individual specialized classes. For me, this was a reason why I was thinking of transferring, but I do think that an undergraduate education is meant to give you like a broad understanding of things, and then once you get to graduate school, that's kind of like where you tailor your education to be more focused on something. And so I don't think this is really as much of a negative as it just is something to think about, that you won't necessarily have classes that are more geared towards like specific fields or majors that are more specialized. You're going to have more general majors. There's also like no pre-professional like courses or majors. Usually, well, at Vassar there's a pre-vet, a pre-law, and like a pre-health thing that you can do with like the career development office, but there's no like pre-professional tracks, and there's really no like pre-professional courses. The career development office might help guide you, but that's about it. Like you might meet with like someone who's specialized in pre-law maybe like twice a year, and that's probably like the only interaction you're really going to have. Again, like I think that's not really too much of a downside, because again, like graduate school is really where you're going to tailor your focus, and either way, like you're going to have a counselor that will help you with like a pre-professional interest. Like if you just look up the graduate schools that you might be interested in, you could kind of see what their requirements are as well. And so I think besides like knowing what kind of courses to take, there's like little else that you would really need. And so yeah, I don't think it's too much of a downside, but it is something to consider. This could be a downside, but typically liberal arts colleges are in like Division III sports, and there's not really like a large sport culture. There is definitely like interest in sports, and there are a lot of sports teams, and you know they'll like typically get together and have a community-based vibe within like their sport, but there really is no like sports culture on campus. And if you are really interested in like going to all the football games or basketball games and being with like a large crowd and just having like that sport vibe, then I don't really recommend liberal arts colleges, because you're not going to get that. Universities tend to be like usually Division I, and so you're going to have a little bit more action when it comes to sports. So again, just something to keep in mind. If you're like me and don't really care, then it doesn't matter. But if you are looking like specifically for sports school, then I would gear more towards universities, just as long as they like align with your academic goals, obviously. So ultimately, if you want to be a part of a school with more of a community feel, rather than like just a part of a large city kind of like campus, then I recommend liberal arts colleges. I recommend them if you want more discussion-based classes, if you want smaller classes, if you want to get to know your professors more, if you're interested in critical thinking and writing skills, if you are interested in learning about a lot of different subject areas and kind of learning things from multiple different perspectives, then I highly recommend liberal arts colleges. Again, I can only speak on liberal arts colleges, not necessarily universities. Maybe I could do a video where I have someone else who goes to a university and we can talk about the differences and the pros and the cons. If that's something you would like, leave a comment below. If you want me to talk about more about my liberal arts college experience, some other reasons why you should or shouldn't consider liberal arts colleges, then again, leave me a comment below so that I know. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed this and you found it helpful, and be sure to subscribe for more content like this. I am going to leave a playlist on my other college videos where I talk about my decisions process and a little bit about my life at Vassar, college advice, stuff like that. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.